now we've learned the 4 properties, we're going to actually practice them. So we will continue on in our notes. Side fact properties are statements that are true for any number. Therefore, the expression 6 times 10 and 10 times 6 are equal expressions because they have the same value. So let's practice that a bit. It says, determine whether 2 expressions are equivalent. If so, tell what property is applied. If not, explain why. Okay, so we have 15 plus, in parentheses, 5 plus 8, and the other expression, 15 plus 5 plus 8. So if we look at our definition of properties and we flip back, we know that this is an addition. And if we look for parentheses, we see that this is an associative property. So we're going to see if it works for both expressions. So if we added 8 plus 5, we would get 13. And then 15 plus 13 is 28. And then if we added 5 plus 15, we would get 20. Then 20 plus 8 does equal 28. So if we notice, we have 28 and 28. So these expressions are in fact equivalent and we determined that this was an associative property. So then we would write these statements. So 15 plus parentheses 5 plus 8 equals 15 plus 5 close parentheses plus 8. Let's practice this again. Number 2, again we have parentheses at the beginning and parentheses at the end. We have 3 numbers. An associative property is the way in which 3 numbers are grouped. So this is associative property as it states right here. The expressions are, we've got to find out if they're equivalent or not. So 20 minus 12 is 8. 8 minus 3 equals 5. And then here we have to do parentheses first, order of operations. 12 minus 3 is 9. And then 20 minus 9 is 11. So 5 does not equal 11. So the expressions are not equivalent because the associative property is not true for subtraction. So in our rules, we learned for addition and multiplication. And here we are learning that associative does not work for subtraction. So we would write our expressions. 20 minus 12 minus 3 is not equal to 20 minus parentheses 12 minus 3. Let's practice this again. We have 20 divided by 5 and 5 divided by 20. This tells us that it is the commutative property, which tells us 2 numbers. So we do in fact have 2 numbers here. So 20 divided by 5 is 4. And then 5 divided by 20, well, we know for sure does not equal 4. We would get a decimal there. So the expressions are not equivalent because the commutative property is not true for division. So our rule states the order in which 2 numbers are added or multiply. So 20 divided by 5 is not equal to 5 divided by 20. It does not work for division. Let's move on to number 4. I would like you to do this on your own, and we will check this with our table group. Do not forget to tell me right here under the so, rewrite the 2 expressions, either putting an equal or a not equal sign in between them. So please press pause now and play when you are ready to move on. Our last question says, in a recent season, the San Antonio Spurs had 15 guards, 4 forwards, and 3 centers on their roster. Generate 2 equivalent expressions using the associative property that can be used to find the total number of players on their roster. So are we going to add or multiply? Well, we just need to add up all the numbers on their team, so we're going to add here. And then let's write our 2 expressions. It says associative property, so if we look back in our notes, flip back if you need to, associative property has a number. We're going to start out with the first number, 15 guards. Plus, and then we have a parentheses. Our next 2 numbers are 4 and 3. So 4 plus 3, that's one expression. And the next expression has the parentheses in the front. So we would keep the order of the numbers the same and put 15 plus 4 and then close parentheses plus 3. That's how we would write our 2 expressions. And say, is this associative? Well, we need to solve it. So we have 4 plus 3, which is 7, and then 15 plus 7 is 22. Then over here we have order of operations. 15 plus 4 is 19, and 19 plus 3 does equal 22. So is this associative? Yes. Therefore, we want to write our 2 expressions, so it's kind of hidden underneath the spur sign. 15 plus parentheses 4 plus 3 equals parentheses 15 plus 4 plus 3. It is true by associative property of addition. Now I would like you to answer these summary questions, and if you do not have a question that pertains to not understanding something about these properties, then I need you to just write a problem for your table to solve tomorrow.